Day 97. So with the whole negativity and anxiety that came from the whole flying episode yesterday, I then tried to combat that with what I now know is one of my kind of releases and things that brings me happiness and positivity in my life, which is trying to share my love and passion and journey with other people and allowing the relationships and moments that then come from that to bring joy into other people's lives as well as into my own. And so I've spent the last sort of 24 hours catching up with different people and accessing some of the happiness and love from those relationships as well as sharing it with the people that I was with. And it kind of got me thinking about the reasons why it took me so long to find out that that was one of the key elements to my happiness and my impact on the world. And the more I kind of thought about it, the more I started to realise that the whole sharing of love concept isn't really a part of a societal norm. So even though the love that I share with so many people is organic and innocent and healthy and human, it's not the societal norm that we share those affections and feelings. And so even though the actions and consequences of my love for generally the whole world have probably shone through over the last 10 years, and people have been the recipients of that in a almost one-way relationship because I've been so busy challenging the origins of those thoughts and emotions because it's not something that we're really raised to do. And in a slightly fateful way, as I was driving home from one of the families that I was visiting today, The Circle of Life by Elton John came on my car radio. And one of the lyrics in that is, some say eat or be eaten, some say live and let live. And that kind of triggered the thought process in my head of, well, the some say eat or be eaten lyric is assuming kind of negative intent from people where you're going to assume they're going to do damage to you, so you do damage first. And then the some say live and let live lyric is just a more neutral kind of idea of, well, I'll leave you alone, you leave me alone. There is no positive intent lyric in there, which would be a kind of share and share alike theme, which in the last month or so I've started to find is where so much of my joy and happiness in life comes from, is from sharing my love with the world and accepting the love from the world in that very basic human desire to just feel accepted. And there is such division in our culture, there's such a binary opposition in pretty much everything now. You're either left wing or right wing, or things are right and things are wrong, things are black and things are white, whatever they are. There are polar opposites for every sort of situation we find ourselves in. We then align ourselves with one of those sides and we enter that whole world of eat or be eaten and live or let live, where we either try to win the fight or just ignore the fight entirely. There's no point where we try to merge the two together and share those experiences and build a better future. And I think it's been a huge turning point for me to accept that as not my own failings as a person for wanting that to be the way that life is, but for reflecting that back onto the world around me and saying actually that's how maybe things should be, which has then been reinforced by all of the experiences I've had over the last 100 days or so, where I've shared things and people have shared things, and it's just made a brighter future for both sides of that transaction, for want of a better word. And looking back across the days, that was probably a huge part of what caused all of the detachment that I have with the world, where in my head I knew I had this love of humanity and desire to help and make a difference to other people as well as myself. And as much as I would like to think it was the world that I was raised in that would fit that thought process, it wasn't. The world that I was raised in wasn't to share love. That isn't the way that the world has been throughout my life. And I'm sure that comes from places of self-preservation and worry, but realistically, should we be living a life based on worry and concern rather than a life based on happiness and progression? And from pretty much everyone that I've spoken to, when people do hit these life-defining moments and huge problems of grief or loss, the fighting thought that comes out of it is stop worrying about things and live for today, live like today is the last day. And that kind of fits with just generally how I'm built. So it's no surprise that I felt separated entirely from the kind of world that was around me. And ultimately then that progression into feeling suicidal all the time was inevitable because I didn't feel like I actually fitted into the world that I was born into. But as I say, this journey has allowed me to almost flip that view on, it's not me that's wrong, it's the world that needs to change, and that then works as a driver for me to want to get up in the morning and want to actually do things to make a difference. So I'm very much excited as to what the future will hold, and particularly for the last 3 days of this vlog. And share, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.